Good evening and welcome to our November 17th school committee meeting. We need to return to regular session. Are we already in regular session? This part always gets
We return.
We're in regular session. Okay. We are running a few minutes late. We had an executive meeting that ran a little bit over, and then welcoming our public who are here. Welcome everybody, and then getting our meeting set up online. So it is about 7:06, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will start with public comment. If there are folks here who would like to speak, now is your opportunity. You have 3 minutes to speak, and just want to remind everyone, since we have not had public a lot, that it is public comment, not conversation, so it's not a time for interaction and engagement, but if there are questions that need to be answered, I'm sure that we can get those answered for you. And if you come up, please state your name and your address. We need
Ben and
Chair, do you
Nora,
wanna
if
start
we're
with the
just gonna
call-ins?
move you guys for a few minutes back to the.
Ms. Picard, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
Madam
Never
Chair, do
mind.
you want me to start with the call-in request?
Oh, yeah, maybe we should start, I'm sorry, we'll start with our call-in. I apologize.
Okay.
It's hard to hear Helen.
Yeah, she's low.
Yeah.
I've dialed the call.
Hello, Rachel Anastasia.
Yes, hi, Rachel. This is Helen at North Andover School Committee, and it is public comment time. You have 2 minutes to make your public comment.
Great. Am I all set to go?
You are ready to go. You're on the air.
Thank you so much. Hi, this is Rachel Anastasia, 46 Thorndike Road, and I have to say, I love seeing the yellow shirts, everybody. They look great. I'm watching you live. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to comment. I am the parent of a student at the Thompson School who is not a special education student. However, I want to thank the school committee for expressing at the last meeting their commitment to completing a special education audit. Agreeing to conduct the audit demonstrates the school committee and the administration's commitment to our special education students and departments. Even though I do not have a child receiving special education services at this time, I understand the importance of the special education department and that the success of our special education students impacts all other students in the district. The funding, support, resources, curriculum, staffing, and administration that function within our special education department here in town ultimately impact the success of regular education students as well as the town at large. I wish to ask publicly the following questions regarding the special education audit. 1, will you be applying for ARPA funds to conduct this special education audit, and what would the timeline be for that application? And 2, will a subcommittee be formed inclusive of the special education director and members of the CPAC to oversee the special education audit, including the and support the facilitation of the outcomes of the audit? These 2 questions are vital to ensuring this a special education audit will be conducted in a timely, transparent, and meaningful way, covering the full scope of topics and challenges that special education uniquely has. I want to thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You can hang up
Thank-
your phone now.
Thank you.
That's the only call-in public comment that we had tonight. But Madam Chair, before you go further with public comment, do you want to identify the people on the call-in in the room? That's required when we have remote participation.
Yes. Okay, so we have Ms. Vitsky is here, Mr. McDevitt is here, I am here, and Ms. Picard is virtual. Dr. Gilligan, do you want to call your
Sure.
staff?
Also virtually, we have Brian Fraser from NACAM on the phone.
Thank you.
Great. Dr. Gilligan, Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Marks, Executive Director of Special Education, Marcy Bacuzzi, our North Andover High School student, our school committee representatives, Ben and Nora, Dr. Mealy, Assistant Superintendent. And I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good
evening. Regina Keene, 412 Massachusetts Avenue. I just want to take the opportunity to thank you all and to express my gratitude to Mr. McGravy for his leadership and dedication in developing and implementing the civics curriculum at the middle school. Both my kids absolutely loved the program, but I, because it's fun and engaging and he really engages them, but I really, really appreciate the fact that we have a curriculum that is really preparing the next generation to make such positive impact on the world in which they live. I know I didn't have that education when I was growing up. It took me probably a long time to become as active as our youth are now. So anyway, I just want to publicly thank him for his work in this area.
Thank you.
Cry in front of the whole town. Good evening. My name is Megan O'Neill. I live at 65 Russell Street. I'm the mother of 3 children in our school district and have been part of the special education program for 8 years now. My children have attended the ABECC and the Atkinson School. Our oldest is on an IEP and part of the PIP program. I am a member of our PTO and a board member of CPAC. Declan is 11 years old and in the 5th grade. He is an amazing young man filled with kindness and empathy. He absolutely loves his friend, and he is so proud to be a North Andover resident. Declan is autistic and dyslexic. Currently, Declan is reading at a 1st grade level. Declan works really hard, and so does his team, but frankly, I'm quite worried as we move towards middle school. As we work to support Declan, I commit myself to making sure that these reading gaps do not happen for other children in our district. I am thankful that the school committee has agreed to move forward with conducting an audit of the special education program. I'm excited to understand what we are doing really, really well and where we can strengthen our programming. I am here tonight hoping to gain clarity on when and how this process will be completed. Will the school committee request ARPA funds in order to move forward with the audit? I am also here to request a subcommittee be put in place to oversee this process. As a parent and a taxpayer, I believe collaboration and transparency is of the utmost importance in this process. And I believe a subcommittee is the right mechanism to ensure both the scope and process involves input from all of the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Not sure where I'm looking. I guess over here. Good evening. My name is Sasha Weinrich. I live at 21 Sawyer Road, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the board members of the North Andover Special Education Parent Advisory Council, commonly referred to as CPAC. We would like to note for the public listening that Chapter 71B of Massachusetts General Law requires a school district to establish a PAC and assigns both an advisory and a participatory function to the PAC. It also states that the Parent Advisory Council duties shall include, but not be limited to, advising the school committee on matters that pertain to the education and safety of students with disabilities, and meeting regularly with school officials to participate in the planning, development, and evaluation of the school committee's special education programs. As we mentioned to the school committee at their last meeting, we truly applaud the committee for agreeing that a special education audit of the district is critical. However, there are so many questions surrounding the specifics of the audit. Some of the most pressing questions include, which have already been expressed, how will the audit be funded? Will ARPA funds be applied for? And if so, when? When approximately will the audit take place? And will a subcommittee be formed to facilitate the audit process? The North Andover CPAC strongly encourages the school committee to create a subcommittee or other appropriate mechanism for a group of taxpayers to include CPAC members to help facilitate the special education audit. We deeply appreciate CPAC's collaborative relationship with the Executive Director of Special Education and recognize her expertise in this area. That being said, in order to engage all community stakeholders and continue to increase transparency, a subcommittee is most appropriate to facilitate this audit, including selecting the audit firm and confirming the audit's scope. Without this level of transparency and involvement from the community, we fear that the results of the audit's scope or validity could be questioned in the future, having an impact on the funding and implementation of the recommendations of the audit. We appreciate your time and consideration and look forward to your response. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and we also had a couple of community members write in, and I think that there was a miscommunication about how those emails are shared and that they're not shared. Now that we're not required to be virtual, those emails, if you want your comment to be public, you have to be here to have to share your public comment, your comment
Madam Chair?
publicly.
Or call in.
Thank you. Or call in. Yes. Yes.
Madam, we all have access to those emails, so we all do read them.
Yep.
And take them into consideration in our deliberations.
True.
And if they were requested in a public records request, they would be received that way. So they're not private or not seen. But
Right.
we still do take them into consideration in our deliberations.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. So we're going to move right along with our agenda. We're going to I think we're skipping over consent items. They weren't quite ready. And then we will move right into our student representatives report. It's the best part of the night.
Oh, thank you. All right, so I'll start us off. My name is Nora El Khadiji, for those I'm seeing for the first time. I'm a senior at North Andover High School, obviously. And just to catch everyone up on what's been going on at the high school, the open house was yesterday, which Ben and I were both at. He was doing the tours to the parents, and I was at the clubs and the sports section. And just to give some feedback, I thought it went really well. As always, at any activity at North Andover, it was very engaging, and the parents seemed to have a lot of questions. I know the sports teams especially had a lot of people's attention, like the volleyball team, the football team, of course. Another thing, the North Andover Music Association had a fundraiser at Jade, which I heard was successful, and I think that was on the 9th. And then one last thing, the annual Jack Lynch Memorial Blood Drive was on Saturday the 12th. As for what's coming up, we have a Wear Yellow Day, as all of you are doing right now, to support CPAC. And as we discussed just moments ago, we're going to, moving forward, try to incorporate them in student council meetings, just so people know more about them and can be more engaged. I know most people kind of miss what's going on in morning announcements, so just to get the student leaders and clubs engaged in CPAC, I think would be good moving forward. Another thing, the Latino Club bake sale is this Friday, and I hear they're selling kind of cultural food, which I'm excited about. There's a robotics competition this Saturday, and then finally the annual Powder Puff game is this Sunday, the 20th, at the Walsh Stadium. Ben?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ben. I'm a junior at North Andover High School. To start off, our math team at the high school is finding some real success. We beat Andover High School for the first time in I believe 6 or 7 years. So we can really all be proud of that. The science team as well is finding real success. This is our second time finishing first overall in the North Shore Science League, twice in a row, 2 months in a row. There is a student council with administration meeting, I believe tomorrow, discussing the attendance policy and some of the excused absence day limits and certain things like that. If anyone has any questions about that, I can answer them to the best of my ability. The girls swim and dive Tacoma State Championship. Dia Ackerman was the state champion in the 100-meter, I believe, breaststroke. The boys cross-country team also Tacoma State Championship. Ryan Connolly finished first overall in that Division I race. This past week was also the athletic signing day, so we had 5 student athletes signed to different colleges such as Bryant, Clemson, or SNHU. The North Andover football game is on the 23rd, next Wednesday at 6 p.m. The open house was yesterday. As Nora said, I led a tour. I thought it went very well. And the Best Buddies talent show is tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. And that concludes our report.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions, Ms. Picard?
None, thank you so much.
Ms. Vitsky?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. McNevitt?
No questions, great job. And I know you just mentioned the powder puff, but I do think the freshmen are coming if you're playing Nora. So I know there's a couple of freshmen back there that may be playing as well, but.
I'll have to be optimistic.
All right, okay, all right. Gauntlet thrown.
Thank you so much. You guys always do a great job. You are welcome to stay, or you are welcome to go do other things.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Gilligan, I think you're up.
Terrific. I don't think I could have said it better myself than Regina Keene. So we're thrilled to have Mr. McGravy here tonight. We've had him in the past, but it's exciting to anytime we can have our students come in. And as we talked about last time, when we talked about the Greater Lawrence After Dark program, and we talked about exonerating the last convicted witch here in the Commonwealth during the witch trials, and we talked about the Braille and the American Sign Language programming, like those all directly tie to our strategic plan. And those authentic learning experiences are so valuable. I will say, having Miss LaPierre in, I do connect with some superintendents across the United States every now and then on Zoom for a group. And they were really stunned that students were able to do that. And they can't believe here in North Andover that we have been showing up since 1646 to pass the budget where everyone goes to a place and they raise their hand. It's really fascinating how unique it is here. But I'll turn it over to Ms. Marks.
And we have someone who's going to talk tonight, I think, about something that may happen at town meeting, a land acknowledgement. So I'm going to introduce Alex, Bryn, Kylie, Morgan, and Yash, who are going to talk about their civics projects. Again, it was very impressive when Miss LaPierre came, but we have a multitude of students doing a lot of really, really important things for our town and our citizens. So thrilled to have you guys here. Come on up.
Would you mind putting the slideshow on that was in the minutes?
Grab some more chairs.
Yeah, why don't one of you sit here, and then why don't you grab some chairs, and then I'll move down, and then after I go, we can go one after the other. So if you want to move some chairs and kind of go in that direction. You can use these chairs here. Yeah. All right, we'll get everyone settled. I wanted to bring more, but it's tight as it is.
Let's just make sure we try to use the mics too.
Yep.
Yes, we're good.
All right. All right, I'll move down. Great. And just so all my students know, everything's up there that we talked about. I want to say thank you so much for giving us all the opportunity. Dr. Gilligan, Ms. Marks, school committee, everyone, thank you so much for giving us all the opportunity to talk about our student-led civics projects, which has been great. So I just have about 2 minutes that I just want to give a little history about what happens, and then we're literally going to go on down the line, and we have some great students that have some amazing things to talk about. So if you could go to the next slide, that'd be great. So just an evolution of the Slick Pro. This picture, I just wanted to start out. The Civics Action Bill was actually written by a state representative who is now going to be a state senator, Andy Vargas, who's been in my class. And if you look at that picture, it embodies everything. I don't know if you've ever heard Andy speak, but on the left, that's Andy as a high schooler at the State House, bringing up civic education. And they pretty much patted him on the head and said, yeah, nice job, see you later. And then about 10 years later, he came back as a state representative with some of the same people. And that picture on the right is 2018 with Representative Vargas getting the bill signed into law by Governor Baker in 2018. So to me, this picture encapsulates everything in civic education. Andy is so great, and when he tells that story to my students when he comes in, it's very, very moving. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is a little history lesson. 2018, the Civics Action Bill was passed into law by Governor Baker, and then Massachusetts, DESE, the frameworks, they decided to have 8th grade no longer do U.S. History 1, and we would do a year of intensive interactive civics. In 2019 to 2020, my 8B students and I piloted the first year of civic education. We were one of the first classes to do it, and it was going really, really well. I partnered with the Democratic Knowledge Project, who helped me tremendously with a lot of the curriculum. Unfortunately, as we all know, our experience ended in March, and we were not able to do a civic action project, but we were able to do something virtual online. 2020, 2021, the hybrid year that we all remember, we were able to get through the curriculum, and there was no group work allowed, but then we did have a SLIC Pro exposition of work. The SLIC Pro stands for Student-Led Civics Project. That's the kind of name that we give it, and we were actually able to have a virtual meeting, and if the school committee wants to, if you look at the slideshow, some of those things you can click on if you're interested. 2021, 2022, the wonderful crew here, I was able to teach the entire curriculum. We were able to do everything, and we were actually able to do real SLIC Pros, and actual change was accomplished, which they will talk about. And then right now, we are moving on in the fourth year, and it's going to be bigger and better. So the steps of the SLIC Pro, which my students know very, very well, the first step is to really examine self and civic identity. That is pretty much the course. From September until May, we talk about civic identity and our values, and that really sets the students up beautifully for then investigating an issue, researching and investigating. The research is a crucial piece to this that they're going to talk about. Developing an action plan, taking action, and then reflecting and showcasing. And we're kind of doing the showcasing right now, which is great. So these are just some of the many projects, and if you go to the next slide, you can see even more. Obviously, I think I had about 55 topics last year, which was better than 120 the year before, but students really take a lot of ownership in this, and I assumed that there would be more group work, but we had a lot of kids working on their own, and when I said, why aren't you working in a group? They were like, no, this is our issue, this is our topic, which is great, and we have 2 people that worked solo on this, and then we have a team as well. And I'm winding down, thank you. So Levers of Change and Civic Allies is a big piece of this, where the students reach out to people at the state, local, and even federal level. These are some of the levers of change. The students will talk about that. If you go to the next slide, I can just kind of give a big shout out. These are some, and obviously people in the room right here, Dr. Mealy and so many other people actually came in. These are just a lot of the people that came in at the state and local level. This is a picture at a little bit of a showcase. You have a moderator of town meeting, Mr. DeSalvo there. You have Janice Phillips from the select board. You have Senator DeZoglio's team there. You have Trom Wynn and Christina Minicucci. I just want to say that is not the norm in Massachusetts. I am working with DESE and helping other teachers. Many teachers say that their emails are not returned. They're kind of essentially blown off, and that is not the case in North Andover. I had people on Google Meets. I had literally people come to the school and the library. So the students and I are very fortunate to be in North Andover to have all of these civic allies, which is great. Okay, so now we can get to the protocol, and that's why we're all here. So all the students are going to follow the same protocol when they talk about their SLIC Pro. And the protocol is basically, what was your topic or issue? Why did you select it? What did you learn during the research? What was your action plan, and which levers of change did you use? And what was your action, and what did you learn from this experience? So this is going to be great because I can step aside and I can have the first group present right over here. Morgan, Brennan, Kylie. This is a picture of them in the library. Actually, you can see Dr. Mealy over there to the right. He came for the meeting, and it was so great. These meetings were so great because I felt like a third wheel. I mean, it was just like, you can leave now, Mr. McGravy, please. I'm like looking through the window. No, you can really go. So it was hard for me to let go, but I did. And so I'm going to have this group talk about a project that they did that was so great about feminine hygiene products at NAMS. So it's all yours. You're going to need to speak into the mic when you speak, and the slides are all there for you.
Okay, so Our topic or issue, as Mr. McGravy said, was to have free feminine hygiene products in all girls' bathrooms at NAMS. You can say why we selected.
Yeah, we decided to do this because we all have been through like the NAMS middle school from 6th grade, even though we weren't really in it as much in like the end of 6th grade during COVID. But we all went through and we all know like what it's like to be in the bathroom and not have anything and then have to like find your way to the nurse or like go back to the teacher's room or just like deal. And it was like, we thought that we could make a difference. Yeah, it was pretty stressful, so we thought we could make a difference for some of the newer students, and if not get what we like had initially hoped for, at least make some change that could be helpful for this like new students coming in.
Like at least spread awareness for incoming 6th graders.
Yeah.
We learned a lot through research. Me and Bryn actually went to each individual bathroom at first, and there's always dispensers, metal dispensers on the walls, and we tested all of them to see if the quarters would work and anything would dispense, and none of them worked. And then later in the process, we were informed that those were like 15 years old.
15.
And that can be pretty dangerous because some of them did actually have supplies in them, but we couldn't get it down through quarters. And that could be really dangerous if someone figured out how to use a tampon or pad from there. And we just wanted, like, it just overall would be safer, we thought, if we could supply, like, safe products and readily, like, able to, I guess, use them.
Yeah, and like even if they did come out, the supplies in there haven't been replaced in like we said like 15 or at least 10 years, which is not very like hygienic, like having them be that old.
So our action plan, at first we wanted to get all free and like have either a box or a free dispenser in every girl's bathroom, but we kind of realized that wasn't going to be like reality at first. So we kind of just thought, well, we can at least try and then see what anybody gives us feedback, what we can do.
Yeah, we had 2 meetings and we wrote an email to the school nurses. We had a meeting with the head nurse and the nurses at NAMS. And then we also had a meeting with Dr. Mealy about it. And we kind of got told that it wasn't reasonable to have the products in the bathrooms for a lot of different issues like plumbing things and issues with like people might steal the products from the bathrooms, which even if that's not like the response we hoped for, we understood and like moved like for the next best solution, which
this was challenging, but we decided to look at each of these issues and find a solution. For the plumbing, we knew that this would be an issue whether or not we supplied free products, since people would be bringing their products from home. So we decided that we could put up signs to inform people better on how to dispense of feminine hygiene products in the bathrooms. And
I'll talk. And the nurses were very helpful in giving us information that we didn't even know was like we had access to. We didn't know that they have black leggings and black underwear in the nurses that we didn't know they had. We barely knew that they had products available to us, and even and we were 8th graders there. We've been there for 3 years, so 6th graders probably did not know.
yeah, if we were shocked, we definitely wanted to find a way to send this information out because they wouldn't know either.
yeah. And even though we couldn't get the bins of products in the bathrooms like we had hoped for, we did end up getting all of the teachers were in the beginning of the year when they got like Band-Aids and other essential like health items, they also got like feminine hygiene products that they could keep in their rooms. So if students like did need it, they could go to a teacher they felt comfortable with and get products from there. And Mr. Gonsalves or the nurses also sent out an email at the beginning of the school year just letting all the incoming 6th graders and the 7th and 8th graders even too know that the nurses had products if they needed them and that the teachers would have them too.
One of our levers of change was the nurses. I think they supported us a lot and was really this was kind of the first time they were hearing about this and we were the first people to bring up this issue to them. So I thought they supported us a lot.
Yeah, the nurses said that they didn't even know it was an issue at all when we first met with them. They had no idea that it was like even a thought that
the kids didn't know or that they needed more.
And we've talked to friends, and they said, like, they were talking about their issue, too, and they agreed with us.
Yeah. We learned a lot about, like, even if what we first like hoped to happen didn't happen, there's always like a next best option that still will help resolve the issue. And
through that, to persevere, if you hear an answer you're not initially looking towards, to continue.
Yeah, because there's gonna always be like another thing that you can do to help like other people and help solve what you want.
That's our project.
So we can go to the next slide. And I can attest that my students did get that email, did get the kit. So all of the things that went into effect, they were totally successful. This is Alex. And Alex has a topic that is completely different. I'm going to let Alex talk about his wild journey that he had from the beginning of the Slick Bro through a lovely summer day at the 4th of July celebration in town that you can see Alex there. So Alex, I'm going to let you go, and there you go. And you can just talk in the mic and you'll be all set.
Thank you. Okay. So yes, my project is land acknowledgement, implementing a land acknowledgement into town events. And so a land acknowledgement is a respectful way to honor the indigenous people who have lived and continue to live on the land. And I guess I can answer the second one as well. So why did I select it? So as a Native American, I'm Haudenosaunee. I felt that it was very important to me to connect this project to myself. Really very personal project. And I think as I grew up, there wasn't much mention of Native American history in the schools, and it was very hard for me to relate and things. And so I wanted people to, I've always try to make an effort to educate and inform others of my culture and of other Native Americans and things. And I've tried to reach out. And so when Mr. McGravy said that we'd be doing this project, I immediately thought, oh, this is such a great idea. And so I immediately thought I need to do something connected to my culture. And so when I looked at land acknowledgements and I saw what they've done for communities, it's great. Land acknowledgements have like I'll talk about this in a bit, but they have like a proactive nature. So not only do we look at the past and we acknowledge it, we inform others of what happened, but you can't change the past. You can only talk about it. But what's great about a land acknowledgement is you can look to the future and change that to make it a better future for all. So when you write a land acknowledgement, you don't just say what happened. It's like we pledge to inform ourselves and to educate ourselves, and it's a great thing that's really works for the future of everyone. And in terms of research, I looked at a lot of universities and colleges who are recently implementing this into their systems, their websites and their events, and like graduations and all these different events. And so they have a lot of great resources online. I looked at University of Toronto. They had a great page on this online. And so I took a lot of inspiration from a lot of different colleges, and that was my main driving factor. There was a lot of other Native American media creators online that I saw, and they were very helpful in helping me not only get inspired, but also inspiration. In terms of action plan and levers of change, the town manager and state representatives were really helpful in connecting me with the right people. I had a meeting with them in the library. It was very nice. And they connected me with the North Andover Historical Society, and it was very great. We went to a meeting with them. I led a meeting there, and we reviewed the land acknowledgement that I had wrote, and we talked about it, and we were like, so unfortunately the NAM's graduation had already, well, it was a bit too late for us to put it in that, and the town meeting had already happened. But we were thinking about this event, this Declaration of Independence reading, and that was a perfect place to implement it in. So I wrote the land acknowledgement, I gave it to them, and we decided that it would be a great place to implement it to. So I read it there, and it was well received. I'm very happy about that, and it's going to be a part of the program continuing on. I'm still working. Civics takes a while, so I'm still working to get it into more events, town meetings, and school events. I would love, and I think so something that this taught me was that a big thing. It taught me a lot, but I think the main point that I think it got across was civics is not as hard as it may have seemed, at least to me. Because when I was going in, Mr. McGravy was explaining this project and how it would be at the end of the year. I was kind of a little bit intimidated, like, oh, I'm going to make this big change, right? And so I think when we actually got to do it, and if you connect with the key people and you really put an effort into it, I think you'll get a lot out of it, and it's really, you can make change if you really try, and it's not, you don't have to be just someone in a political position. You can just be just anyone, just any citizen has the power, and I think that's something that I really enjoyed, and thank you.
And yeah, we did talk at actually the 4th of July with Mr. DeSalvo. I don't know if Mr. DeSalvo is watching, but Mr. DeSalvo was very interested in having the land acknowledgement maybe read at town meeting. We'll also say there was a commission at the Historical Society that had been working, writing a land acknowledgement, and they preferred Alex's to the one that they had been working on for 2 years. So that's a testament to Alex's work. All right, so this is Yash. He's our final student speaking today. There is another student, Anna Hurst, who unfortunately cannot be here because she is in a play, but hello, Anna, and we thank you for your work. So Yash really worked from December on the quality or lack of quality of water at NAMS. And so he worked really, really diligently, emailed Dr. Mealy. There were some meetings. And then he ended up meeting with State Representative Minicucci. This is a Facebook post that Representative Minicucci did a while ago. I believe Dr. Gilligan was there when they had one of the big checks, and highlighting both Anna and Yash's work in electric car charging stations and water filling stations. So I'm going to let Yash speak last, and go for it.
Thank you. My name is Yash Srivastava. I'm a 9th grade student at the North Andover High School currently, an ex-8th grade student who graduated from the North Andover Middle School. So how did I even get this idea? Where did this come from? So as we all may know, gym is a pretty exhausting class. So a lot of the time I'm not able to always have my water bottle. So after gym one day, I was very thirsty, as most people usually are after gym class. And I went to the water fountain right outside gym class, but I saw something that looked green, almost like mold. And so I thought maybe it was just that water fountain. And then I went to the next one in Sims Lobby, and it had the same thing. And then I started going around the school, and it was just all the same. And I realized that this could be a major health issue, because not only at the time was COVID a major thing that we were all considering. So this was a real picture that I did take of the school water fountains, and I later did find out that this was oxidation. And along with this, I have the problems that oxidation could cause. It could cause damage to brain cells, inflammation, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. And here's the picture again. So then, why did I actually choose this topic to try to make a change? So me personally, I feel I really do value the health and what we are putting into our bodies. So I felt like the oxidization wasn't a proper thing that we should have, that we should be offering to all students, and that this should be a change that we should make, because not only would this affect me, others, but this would affect the general welfare of our North Andover Middle School. This could even affect the faculty if they ever wanted to use it, and As said, this could cause many health problems. So the next step I did was to make research. So at first, I just made a survey, which I was eventually able to get 247 of the North Andover Middle School students to answer. The first question of the survey was, do you believe that our school water fountains are sanitary or not? Already, without seeing this picture, 95.5% of the students did not believe so. The next question in the survey was that if they saw something that looked like this in the picture, which I attached in the survey, at the top of the nozzle of the water fountain, would they use it? 97.1% of the students said no. For the final question, I decided to collect extra thoughts from students. Student 1 said we should all have access to safe and clean water. Student 2 said the little amount of water fountains we have are either on the other side of the school or unsanitary. Student 3 said the water does not taste like how it should. Student 4 said, I spend most of the day not drinking water at all until I get home, and many more. So, not only were students risking their own health just for the sake of sanitization, but they weren't able to properly supply themselves with what they needed. So for my action plan, the first thing I did was try to get in contact with school officials. I started by emailing Dr. Mealy, and then I also decided to try to raise awareness throughout our own school and to the faculty. And overall, I was trying to get more time put towards the sanitization of the school water fountains and more funding as well. So what I ended up being able to do was presenting to Mr. Mealy, Dr. Gilligan in my classroom, State Representative Ms. Minicucci, a DKP representative, and my at the time principal, Mr. Gonsalves. Overall, what did I learn from this experience? So the first thing, and one of the many almost things that held me back from almost wanting to not do this project, was being afraid of almost just not wanting to speak up, because this is a problem for all. If I just noticed it, this must have been a problem for many of the other students too. And I also learned that if issues like this aren't resolved soon enough, it could lead to even bigger issues. For example, with the effects that oxidization can have, if more students kept using these, they could have been at risk to any of these, which include damage to their brain cells, inflammation, risk of diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Overall, I was able to learn that anyone can make a change, even if it seems like they're just a small part of their environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Whew, wow, pretty emotional, proud moment. The last slide, and I know if you want questions, if you could go to the last one, Doctor. Yeah. So year 4, I'm in now. Going to be a few changes. The kids are starting the Civic Action Project in November. We're starting it earlier. The speakers are coming in, and instead of just talking about an area of civics, they're going to work on the project with the kids. We're going to try to do a showcase in June with all 3 teams, my 2 colleagues and I. And then DESE is trying to do a state civic action project showcase sometime in the summer that different schools can have representatives for. So that's pretty much it. I don't know if you want questions or what we need to do, and we really appreciate you taking the time out of the meeting. I know you all have lots to do at these meetings, and it means a lot to my students and I to be able to have this forum to talk about our work.
That we want to, Ms. Picard, do you have any questions?
I thought the presentation was fabulous, and I'm really thankful. I'm glad that all of you have taken the opportunity to speak up. It reminds me a little bit of the capstone projects at the high school, the way that you presented these. And I would just say to Alex, I don't know if you've connected at all with the Mass Center for Native American Awareness, but they're located in Danvers, and we spoke with them when we were recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day for the first time in North Andover. They were very helpful and very knowledgeable. I'm sure they'd be interested in the work that you've done. Thank you.
Ms. Vitsky, any questions?
Yeah, just, well, comment and question. I was actually fortunate enough to be in Mr. McGravy's class when Team 1 was presenting their project, and so I was really happy to hear the result because I actually didn't know what happened after you met with the nurses and all that. So that's really cool, and I'm glad that the whole school knows that teachers have the kits now and all that. So that's a great job. And then my question for everyone is, do these projects make you think you'll do more of stuff like this on your own in the future, get involved in more civics actions? Cool, thanks, good job.
I'll just say, fantastic job. I mean, you guys hit it out of the park. I mean, just absolutely great. And I think what's amazing is, and I think all three teams said, we made a difference, right? I mean, think about that. You are 14 years old and you made a huge difference in your school and your community. And that doesn't happen, as Mr. McGreevy said earlier, that doesn't happen in a lot of places. And so thank you for doing that. And thank you to Mr. McGreevy for being part of the civics program and really piloting this, for years. And I'm lucky enough to have had, I think, 2 of my kids go through your class and the civics projects. And I feel like they are absolutely more aware of a lot of different things as a result of that. And so I think it's a great testament. And really to piggyback onto Ms. Vitsky's comment, I mean, I hope that what this has done is shown you that you have your voice, that you always have your voice, and that you can always make a difference. And I hope that it doesn't inhibit you as you go forward and kind of grow up and continue to grow up, I should say, to just be as vocal about something, right? You see a problem and, it's not just, well, that's a problem, right? You all found a solution. It may not have been exactly what you wanted, but you got a great compromise. You get a great place to go forward with that. And just amazing. So proud of you guys.
Yeah, and I'll just echo, what everyone else has said and just say thank you so much, Mr. McGravy. Thank you for empowering your students and showing them that their voice matters and that it doesn't matter how old they are. If they go through the proper channels and learn the process, that they can make a difference. I'm so impressed with all of you. You're all really brave. This is intimidating and scary, and you guys, I think you said knocked it out of the park. You're right. You totally knocked it out of the park. Really, really great job. I'm so impressed with the different important issues that you're all, it's so awesome. I know you gave a list of the topics that your students have been working on, and just to hear how they all turned out and how you all kind of had similar but different ways it's just incredible. So thank you so much, you guys. Great. Really, really job well done.
Mr. McGravy, you mentioned that Anna Hurst would have joined us tonight. What was her topic?
So Anna's topic was more electric charging stations in North Andover, and she was able to meet with the town manager and State Representative Minicucci, and that definitely was inspiring when they were looking at expenditures and certain money and in the $100,000 they got, and North Andover was able to get funding for that, and
electric car charging stations.
Correct. Yes, more
Thank you.
more of them.
And I'd just like to say I'm really proud of this group. One of our goals is that our students can use their knowledge to authentic situations with a focus on civic engagement, social justice, and empowering global leaders. So to Holly's point and all your points, when I hear about kids these days, that's a phrase you've been hearing for years. I feel really good about our kids these days, and I think we're in really good hands with you as our future leaders in all sorts of fields. So I'm incredibly proud of you, and thank you. And I'd also like to note, Mr. McGravy, I know we mentioned at one of the other meetings, he was selected to a really prestigious board this year on the Edward M. Kennedy Senate Institute down in Boston next to the JFK Presidential Library on their Teacher Board of Advisors, which is a very select group. And just again, Pat, really appreciate all your work in promoting this civic engagement and action. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. There goes most of our public. or all.
Hey, can I'm gonna go get a picture, Jim. Can you go over the vaccination? You guys mind if I just?
Absolutely, go for it.
Outside.
I know.
I know.
They're all so eloquent.
I was going to tell them how many people were watching.
3. Kidding. I'm kidding.
Thank you.
No, he had, Dr. Mealy's gonna, I think, go over part B.
Yeah.
There it is.
It's happening on November 22nd from 3:30 to 6 at the high school cafeteria.
Great.
Okay.
And that's just COVID, right? There's no flu?
That one's just the COVID.
Just COVID, okay.
Correct.
Yeah, go ahead.
Start to kick it off. Sure.
So Dr. Gilligan had just asked since our last meeting to give an update just on where it stands as far as the special education review. People keep using the word audit. I'm not sure that that's it's not a word, and I don't know if we want to kind of distinguish between. I don't know that if there's a difference, but just what I had asked for when we had talked about was a review. It was interesting because as I looked back at central office, had supported a special education review partway into my first year here. So I had started some discussion with a gentleman named Jim Early who was doing these reviews through SEAM Collaborative, and those discussions happened in February of 2020 and then quickly ended in March 2020. And so we haven't, until again, we talked about it in September, we haven't entered back to it. So I initially did contact him to talk about that process again. I think I might have said this already. He has retired, but he had put me in contact with a gentleman named Bob McCardle. And Bob McCardle, interestingly enough, worked for Walker, who did and was one of the 2 gentlemen who did our original Walker report. So I have been talking to them about it. I think that's a really nice kind of connection to somebody who did. I mean, the Walker review was before my time here, so it had to have been
Before mine.
Yeah, I think it was 8. I think it was 8 or 9 years ago.
Around 09, 10.
Yeah.
I think it was
Somewhere in there.
Actually, it was a little later than that because I was chair of CPAC then.
Yeah,
so
oh,
it had
right.
to be 2011 or 12.
Yeah. So, but it was interesting because he had when we talked, he had the findings of that last. We talked about the findings of that last report too. It's still sitting in my office in a big black binder. But Walker was at that time like the organization that everybody used. I have researched in terms I have connections with about 250 special education directors, and not a lot of people are doing them right now. And B, the information that I got, a lot of people. So Bob McCardle works for this organization called Seaside right now, and there's quite a few. They're in Salisbury, and there are quite a few consultants in that practice or through them. There are a couple of other ones, but they're not located. I got information from somebody in Paxton and somebody in Mansfield, so that people are happy. So there is one other organization that it is Amy Reese. I can't think of one of our local. She's not Drake yet. I'm sorry, it's slipping me right now where she is a special education director. But they're in the midst of one right now, so she doesn't have any information on sort of outcomes of it. But again, there really wasn't a huge selection, so I can certainly kind of reinvent that and kind of look into it more. The other thing about Seaside and Bob McCardle is that they can start at the first of the year, so they are also available to start. So I know there's some questions about that process. Thus far, they've told me their process, in which is how they communication with families and us and interviews. But we can certainly steer that in whatever direction. My ask to them, sometimes they do individual programs, or like they'll do an SEL review or a clinical review or specific programs. My ask to them is to do all of them. So they start with everything from, handbook to, observation. So, and they all engage in a similar process.
Is that about the same scope as the Walker one
Yeah.
was? Yeah.
Probably, I don't, it's, the manpower is probably a little bit different. I mean, there was a couple of people who looked like, I
Right.
think came from, I think it was actually Jim Early and Bob McCardle. I think it was the two of them who might have done Walker. So, I mean, that's, I don't, it might not be that volume of information, but the scope is pretty similar.
Do they have any sample reports or recommendations, declassified, so we don't necessarily have to know what town or community, just to kind of see what the deliverable is going to be?
Yeah, and that was my, my one really ask them is, I want tangible recommendations. So I don't need volumes of information. I think, as I've said before, I don't have any, I'm proud and don't have a lot of concerns, but I welcome, absolutely welcome, a view from above, because I think that is what's missing. Alignment's really hard when in a district this big with this many programs. So certainly from the time of 2011 to now, we've expanded our programming a lot. But there's another component to that. There's general education buy-in. So they speak to the realm of services. So it's not just solely looking at the programs. So that's where it stands right now. So the sooner I commit to something, obviously, the sooner we can start these things. But I can ask those details about whether or not they have a report, and talk to them a little bit. I want to gather information from people about, again, I can tell them what I'm looking for from it, with pretty much, a lot of specificity. But I think there are other people that can contribute to that conversation as well. School committee, my admin team. So we can talk more about that.
I think one of the things that I would just recommend when you look at the deliverables, I mean, we still talk about the Walker report as if it was done last year.
Mm-hmm.
And, we can't remember exactly when it was done. Let's just say between 10 and 12 years, right? So this becomes a pretty significant document that helps us for planning, helps us for staffing, helps us as we look to conceivably to a brand new school, a renovation of a school, an expansion of schools over the next 10 years or so. So I'm not going to say that this becomes basically our guidebook for it, but this will very much become a
I need it to become a guidebook.
Yeah, like I can't speak, a trajectory,
Yeah.
right?
One of the things I did say, and as I said, I feel confident in our programming, but we're lacking capacity. So we are where we are, and so in moving forward, we really don't have an ability to expand capacity right now, even if we wanted to. But we will be able to. So what are their recommendations around that? Would be a really important piece for me.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if I assume this would be covered, but we obviously spend a significant amount of money to send students out of district for placements or somebody join or?
No, Helen has her
okay.
hand in.
Yeah, sorry, so 1 second, Helen. Are those programs that can be brought in-house? Not in-house, but in district, I should say. So, those would be things that I would love for them to consider and make recommendations.
And the other ask was around our use of teaching assistants. I think that is also,
huge.
As everybody knows, I said to them, I kind of feel badly for anybody who had a pre-COVID review and spent all that money on it, because there should be like a little bit of a refund, because nothing is the same from before then. So in some sense, I'm glad we didn't do it when we did it, because we're looking at things so differently right now. So again, they will create a scenario based on what we are looking for. So, Helen?
Sorry. Yeah,
Sorry.
Helen has a question. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm curious if these folks will also meet with parents in the community or gather information about what concerns folks might have. If they might meet with CPAC or do a survey of parents or anything like that. Is that part of their process?
They meet with staff, they meet with organizations, they meet with parents.
Do you have any idea of how long the process is, and then the turnaround for when a report would be?
I didn't ask that now, but I can find out.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Helen.
Yeah, I don't see myself on the screen there, so I don't know if you know that I'm over here raising my hand. So I'm
No,
sorry
no,
if
the little blip is actually helpful because you're small right now, so it's.
I'm always small.
No, no, I meant the picture of you is small and harder to see. There, you're bigger. You're big now.
I'm wondering, so I was not on the committee when the last Walker report was produced for us, so I would love to have a copy of that. Marcy or Dr. Gilligan, if somebody could provide that so we have some sense of what that might look like. And then the question I also have, I think it's probably for Dr. Gilligan, which is, we must have identified funding for this when we started it before. So is that same funding available, or do we need to find some other funding, or what's up with that?
Yeah, so we are, I think as Dr. Mealy said at the last meeting, in the process of utilizing, if we can, opera funding for something along these lines. We can ask, and we're certainly been talking about it. Dr. Mealy?
Yeah, so a couple things. Somebody mentioned earlier in public comment about transparency, and Ms. McDevitt talked about other districts and in their reports. These types of reports are public accessible. They're available to everybody. So of course you can get a copy of the Walker report. As far as the funding goes, I was surprised. I'm surprised at the emphasis people are putting on have we requested, because we pursue every possibility for funding, and we certainly will pursue ARPA funding for this. But we did not budget it for this year. We can certainly budget for next year, and if we're able to do it sooner, things happen during the year. One of the things that's happened, and you'll see in the next budget stats report, is that we received more circuit breaker money than we anticipated this year. So that certainly could be a way, if we don't get it through ARPA or some other means, to fund the study, the report.
Thank you.
Can I just piggyback onto that? I mean, I think as we start to go into budget season, knowing and anticipating that there will be recommendations, and I don't know what we would kind of put aside, if you will, but that might be something that we want to consider.
Just as an example.
So, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, one of the recommendations that came out of the Walker report was the TOPS program, and it turned out that as they were making that recommendation, a grant became available, and Andover asked us to partner with them. And the result of that, and I've said it before many times, is probably $1 million a year savings to us, and that's been
It's a great program.
8 or so years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say there's huge value in things like this. But as we've progressed through the years, remember, we've grown a lot of capacity. We have to do a lot of self-reflection and review. We've had coordinated program reviews and tiered focus monitoring from the state.
We're in it now. We'll be in it again next year.
Yeah, and this, but what I'm saying is, it's not. I wouldn't want anyone to have the impression that we're stagnant since the Walker report, which was a long time ago. Special education is a long time review, and there's been amazing programs and capacity which has been built here through the hard work of Marcy, through the special educators in North Andover, the general educators, everybody involved, Ms. Marks, the whole folks. So a lot of things depend on cohorts, needs, age groups, and partnerships. So I think anytime we can do these things, it's really terrific. But this is would really fit into kind of like how formative assessment and summative assessment, it's another data point and a really valuable one. But there's work that's been ongoing to identify needs and what are the needs of the population as well. So,
thank you, Martha.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Is this going to require any kind of school committee vote, or are we just, the administration is going to take next steps and report back out to us?
I don't know. Do we know?
I would say we're not moving any money at this point and expending, so there wouldn't be a vote.
Great.
Thank you. I think it's still you.
Oh, great. All right, Dr. Mealy, can we go to the next slide? So we've got the salute to veterans. And so what I wanted to talk about was, I don't see the PowerPoint.
It's coming.
Great. So, as we talk about our raised values and service, I think one of the things that we do across many of our schools, and these are just a couple examples, and the participation of our students is saluting veterans and thanking them for their service. And so, I wanted to start out with North Andover Celebrates Veterans, and this is from the parade on November 11th. We had elected officials from this room participating and marching in the parade, which was terrific. And I want to point out our North Andover High School marching band, just tremendous job, and a stirring rendition of the national anthem at Patriots Park across from Stevens Memorial Library. And I'm just so impressed by our band and the leaders and their commitment to events like this on a day off of school. It is really remarkable. And then secondly, the private Albert E. Thompson School is one of our elementary schools, and several of our elementary schools do celebrate veterans, but this is a really special event, and it was really cool. Private Albert E. Thompson grew up at 60 Waverly Road. He lost his life at age 16 fighting in World War I. He's buried about an hour east of Paris today. And so I think it's really cool and apt that this school celebrates and has a salute to veterans and has for some time. So I would really like to point out just a few things. They had quite a program saluting veterans. Every year they pick a veteran to be the honorary special guest of the year, and this year it was Jay Butterbrot, and he may be the husband of Cheryl Barzak, our very own Cheryl Barzak. So he was the guest speaker. He was the guest of honor. And it was really cool that he got to come speak to our students here at Thompson. And I think it really made it special that they also brought his son Ian, who's in the Army at this time, and we're able to honor him. And if you go back one slide real quick, just Mr. Morgan, he's the PE teacher. He did a great job. Mr. Raymond, unfortunately, got sick that day, and he really stepped up to be the MC and was remarkable. So great job by Mr. Morgan. And then, as you can see, the top right over there, you've got Jay Butterbrot, his son Ian, and his other son Max. So it was really awesome to honor. We have other veterans from the Thompson and the community at large in North Andover that showed up. Students had essays that they read as part of their thanks to veterans and part of their writing experiences. And Deb Gilmartin, a longtime teacher there, along with the music teacher, and I forget her name. It slips my. Emily. Awesome with all of the songs for the different branches of the service. If you go to the next slide. And the high school band was there again. So this one, they did a great job with the the different songs, but there was not a dry eye in the house when they played Taps at the end. That's a really difficult song to play. Really solemn song, a remarkable job. Bob Westcott down the bottom right from the Exchange Club donated all the flags for the event. And at the beginning, Representative Minicucci was leading Troop 87 to present the arms and to do the Pledge of Allegiance prior to the event. So just really cool event, really nice job for them to honor and say thank you to veterans in North Andover. And it's a really important part of our values. Just back for the folks at home on the first slide, Dr. Mealy, I have to say this too. Sometimes it goes, I take it for granted. NACAM is the best in the business. They cover all of our events. They give a lot of our people in the community and everywhere an access point to see relatives, to see family, to see what's happening in the community. And they were awesome. So if you go to the Thompson one, Jim, Dr. Mealy, one more, I think, right there. Oh, back one. That NACAM link is the entire Thompson celebration, and it's a great video to check out. So I wanted to say that. Salute to veterans, really proud of our kids on that. All right. And I went to take a picture, so I know we got our update from the special ed director. And just celebrating, if you haven't checked out Patch, they did a nice article on the CPAC and their contributions to the community. And tomorrow is Wear Yellow Day to raise CPAC awareness. And it was great to go to Starchi's the other night. I got a pizza. It was it looked like a great turnout, so to support the CPAC. And last but not least, if you get a chance, next week will be the Thanksgiving Day football game, but it's on the Wednesday night. And it's really great if you want to come out and see our folks who sing the national anthem, the cheer team, the marching band, football players. Really cool, and color guard. So great event, and I hope people have a great Thanksgiving.
Okay, thank you. Move on to the chair's report, which is kind of light, which is okay in the interest of time. I think we decided, Holly and I, so I had a conflict on December 15th, but Holly will chair the meeting and we'll just keep the schedule as is. And if we have other like personal conflicts, we can just see how they go as they come. But for now, the dates will stay. Okay. And then school happenings. Dr. Gilligan already said there was a CPAC event the other evening, Tuesday evening, and I know, Holly, you were there. I was able to stop by earlier. I did have a prior commitment, but it was actually at Jamie's, so I was able to walk over and see everybody and say hello and make sure that my order at Jamie's was, a contribution to their fundraiser. And it looked like a really great event. It's so nice to see a CPAC of like community event, which I hope that we have more of them. We're all wearing our shirts. And tomorrow, everyone is encouraged to wear Yellow Day at school. So I would be curious to see how many yellow shirts are walking the halls of schools tomorrow. Am I missing anything, Holly? You were there a little bit longer at the event on Tuesday. Do you have
I thought it was great to see everybody there. I just want to shout out to, I know everybody in here came, but Marcy was out there for a long time freezing. And
I couldn't see because I had my eyes done.
Oh, no.
But what's remarkable about not just that everybody came out to support, but in a lot of districts, there's a lot of animosity between administration and CPACs. And not only do we not have that here, we have actively supporting the CPAC by our administration. So I just wanted to point that out, that's special and meaningful. So thank you.
It's a really good point. Thank you. All right, let's move on to old business. Item A is the STEM service overnight trip that looked like everyone wanted to chaperone. Do we have discussion?
I move that we approve the STEM overnight trip as presented in the packet.
Second.
Great. And are we ready to vote?
Well, we have our answers to the questions. So I don't know if anybody has discussion around that.
Sorry, discussion after.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. Any quick discussion? No? Okay. So I will call for a vote. Ms. Picard?
Yes.
Ms. Vitsky?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay. And moving on to letter B, the color guard MOA with Andover.
I move that we approve the color guard MOA as presented in the packet.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Is there discussion? Okay, ready to vote. Ms. Picard?
Yes.
Ms. Vitsky?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. And then moving on to budget directives, item C.
Madam Chair, I think this is the first time we're looking at the draft budget directives. We did last time look at the prior year budget directives, and there's not many changes, although I did see that the request that I made to include in the second bullet, retain the FTEs identified as recovery services in the previous budget by providing funding through the FY24 operating budget. So I appreciate that being included.
Great.
And so I would move that we approve the FY24 budget directives that are presented as a draft in the packet.
Second.
Great.
Keeping it easy on Michelle tonight.
Okay. No kidding. Is there discussion? Okay, so I will call for a vote. Ms. Picard?
Yes.
Ms. Vitsky?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Excuse me, yes.
I will vote yes. Okay, moving right along. On to new business, we have item A, food service budget revision, discussion and request to suspend the rules.
So I had given you guys a heads up that this would be coming because they approved.
Your mic is really sensitive tonight.
The reimbursement, again, this year for free lunch for everyone. I changed the landscape for Erica, and so she had to revert back to that model where she's making a lot more lunches but getting reimbursed for them. So revenues go up and expenses go up, and this covers that.
Dr. Mealy, is it free lunch and breakfast?
Just lunch.
Thank you.
Does this include any of the meals that she may do for the community? We doing any of those still?
I have to check. I don't think so. I think she stopped that finally recently, maybe through the summer.
Okay.
But I'll double check.
Okay, I feel like I remember hearing about it in the summer. I don't remember hearing, because I think they did pickups on Wednesday or Thursday nights or something.
Right. I think
Okay.
they did it through the summer, and then I believe they stopped, but I'll confirm.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I would move to suspend the rules to approve the revised food services revolving account budget for fiscal year 2023 as presented in the packet.
Second.
So now it's a discussion on
On suspending the rules only though, right?
only suspending the rules.
Right. Is there discussion for suspending the rules? So then we vote to suspend the rules.
We vote
Yes.
either yay or nay.
Okay. Ms. Picard?
Yes.
Ms. Vitsky?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
And now?
I will move that we approve the budget for FY23 for food services.
Second.
And is there discussion?
Yeah, I would just bring up, Dr. Mealy, I asked you a couple of questions offline, that the revenues on that first line, that's from a la carte items like muffins or cookies that people buy, and that those retained earnings in the bottom line are then rolled back into the program for one-time expenses in the future, such as, if we need new freezers or whatever we need. So I appreciate that answer, Dr. Mealy.
Yeah, and just so everyone else hears the answer, and I can elaborate a little bit to give you guys a heads up. Erica is in a much better position than she's been in years, not surprisingly. And so the recommendation is that you not have less, and we've often had less than 3 months of expenses for the operations, but that you also not carry more than that. That you kind of reinvest that money back into the program. And one of the things she's looking at, and she's working with the principals, Eric is always coming up with ideas. One of them is buying carts that can offer up healthy snacks, veggies and things. But she's also looking at the opportunity to redo the cafeterias across the district, but especially at the high school and middle school, making them much more welcoming and effective and efficient. So that'll be coming forward as she gets into that more, just as a kind of a preview.
That's great.
Yeah, and just a shout out, Erica really is a treasure to this community and beyond, and she really did a lot to promote the free school lunches for all students in Massachusetts for this year, and really help the legislature in making their decisions. So she's terrific to work with, and I really appreciate her.
We
all do.
Very much. Okay, so we suspended the rules. We're ready to vote. Okay. Ms. Picard?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzke?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. They have all left.
They're lining up.
Is there member comment that we would like to share? Ms. Picard?
None at this time, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Fitzke?
Nope, I said mine during the meeting.
Okay. Mr. McDevitt?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Okay. And I also have nothing. I've shared my thoughts already. So I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And taking notes. Okay. We will vote for that. Ms. Picard?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzke?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. And we are adjourned at 8:27.